we'll get started. So the title is Beans for Plant-Based Meals. I was watching the news this morning and they were doing a food demo on a meatless meal because today's Ash Wednesday and we're in the Lent season. And so people will be looking for some meatless options on Fridays, I guess, would be most of it. But also, you know, with the cost of food, with inflation, beans are a real economical source of protein for people. And if you're not really that used to cooking with beans, some of these recipes that we have for you in the chat would be easy to do. I mostly think of beans using them in soups, but I thought today we would do more meals kind of thing. So we've got about 3 recipes we're going to do. So first off, I just wanted to show you some of the different dried beans that are out there. And so something like this package, it's red kidney beans, only like $1 to $2 a bag. So it's really economical, but you're getting some real good protein with this. So I kind of have my little cheat sheet here. So we're going to just show some of the different varieties. So I think black beans are the beans that I'm most comfortable using. And I have a pot of black beans that I put in the crock pot today to cook all day. But they're like a small little bean and they have a soft and sweet flavor and texture. And they can be used in like burritos, salads, soups, stews, tacos. So a lot of times what I'll do is if we're trying to cut down on red meat, say you were going to make tacos and you were going to brown some ground beef, you can often use half the amount you normally would of the ground beef and then add some black beans. And you know, you can get black beans in cans, and I would say get the ones that are no salt or low sodium, just to keep that down. But you just open the can, rinse them and drain them, and throw it into your soup or your taco mixture, whatever you'd like. I'll tell you, well, I can tell you this now, how I made these black beans. So everyone has their own way of cooking beans, but this one is real easy. Here, I'm just going to show you 1 second here. So this is kind of like a crock pot of cooked black beans. And so what I did, I came in here to Living Well, close around 11, and it's 1 quart of water with a package of these beans, a whole onion chopped up, and some garlic, a couple cloves of garlic just chopped, and stir that in and put the lid on, put it on low, and you just let it cook. And when I came here today, it was all done. And so we're going to use these beans to make 3 recipes at the end. Some people do like an overnight soak with beans and then drain them. I didn't even do any of that. It just did itself in the crock pot. So it was very easy. And then another type of bean would be pinto beans. And those are ones are often associated with Mexican dishes. Let's see, they're medium-sized oval beans with a beige brown skin. And they have a huge variety of recipes for chili, refried beans, Mediterranean salads, soups, and more. So I know if you ever go to like a Chipotle and you want like a bowl, a burrito bowl, they'll ask you, do you want black beans or pinto beans? So you can see which one, and they're both just very good and give you that nice protein. Another one, again, and these are all in cans too, but here's garbanzo beans that are dried, and you can do the same method with the water and even onion, or and they're often round tan beans with a mild flavor. They're great in casseroles, pastas, making a hummus, minestrone soup, it's Spanish and Indian dishes. You can also roast them with olive oil and salt for a crunchy little topping. So that, and then we have cannellini beans. I don't have those here. Those are real smooth, creamy type bean. We have navy beans, which are small oval beans, white, and they have a lot of fiber, and they also help to lower cholesterol. A lot of our beans have soluble fiber in them, and they are cholesterol lowering. So, and then we've got lima beans that are dried, and here's some great northern beans too, like a white bean. So look for them in the store, inexpensive. You can either get them dried or you can get them in cans and then, you know, make your recipe. So good to try. They also use that word legumes as kind of a catch-all for lentils and beans. So we're going to start our PowerPoint now. Let me just go back a second, see where we're at. Okay, so, all right. So beans are a meatless protein and they're high in they're a meatless protein and they're high in protein. And it's made up of amino acids, which are building blocks for many of the body's structures, including our muscle, skin, and hair. And we all need protein. If you're going through treatment, you have increased needs. So how we try to manage that is if you want to do like a smaller meal and have a snack, so you're eating 5 or 6 times a day, but you want to have protein with each of those meals and snacks. So if you had hummus, which is a form of a bean, that could be a snack and you're getting protein that way. Or if you made a homemade soup and had that for lunch with different beans in it, it would be very good for you. And there's just many ways to get adequate protein in our diet with or without meat. So here again, we have beans, lentils, dried peas are rich sources of protein. They have a whole section on that in the store. So what is a pulse? So it's a legume. It's a plant in the family, however you say it, Fabaceae, I don't know, or the fruit or seed of the plant. When used as a dry grain, the seed is also called a pulse. The dry edible seeds in the legume family, pulses are a category of superfoods that include chickpeas, lentils, dried peas, and beans. So if you hear that word pulse, it's just referring to beans or legumes. All right, so other sources of plant-based protein would be some whole grains. So some things like farro, kamut, quinoa, wheat berries, all provide up to 11 grams of protein. And then protein-rich vegetables are like spinach or even sweet potatoes or peas. So the point is eat a variety of food. And if you did make like a bean soup, serve it with some nice whole grain bread. You can kind of sop up the juices. You'll be getting a little extra protein that way too. So plant proteins are packed with other beneficial nutrients such as fiber, vitamins and minerals, healthy fats, and antioxidants. They usually have very little saturated fat, sodium or cholesterol. So you get saturated fat from animal protein. So like the fat around meats, the skin of the chicken, butter, lard, sour cream that's whole fat, that's saturated fat. So people are trying to cut down, so they trim the fat, they take the skin off the chicken, and they might switch over to olive oil, as a source of their fat instead of using butter. So if you're roasting vegetables, use the drizzle of olive oil and not melted butter. And that way you're going to reduce your cholesterol. And also try not to use salt in cooking too. Try to use like fresh herbs. So today in some of the recipes, we have some cilantro. There's cilantro and parsley in this jar. That's a good thing. Or using dried herbs that you might have in your pantry, or fresh herbs too, like dill and rosemary. They all give a lot of flavor. Also, some mustards and vinegars, like a balsamic vinegar drizzled on something, gives a lot of flavor, but it's not high in salt. And this may be one reason why vegetarian and vegan diets are linked with a lower risk of some diseases. We're not trying to make you vegetarian, so don't worry about that. The Mediterranean diet, which is what we promote for people trying to move forward after a cancer diagnosis and they're feeling good, they've completed their treatment. It's just using more like whole grains and fresh fruit and vegetables, lean meats, and some meatless meals. So that's where the beans would come in, and healthy fats like the olive oil. So it's something we constantly talk about, but it's so that people realize it's a really healthy way of eating. And there might be, I'm pretty sure there's a handout there that shows the Mediterranean diet, or it's on our website. So here's some protein-rich plant foods, kind of what we just showed you with these bags of beans. So there's a whole variety. You just kind of try ones over time, try different ones, and you can always look up a recipe online too. Like what's a recipe for Great Northern beans, and things will pop up for you. All right, now some tips for changing over to more of a plant-based diet. Nuts are really good. A lot of our oncologists will say, if you can tolerate nuts, keep a nice jar of them by where you like to sit, but chew them well, because digestion starts in your mouth. That's mechanical digestion. Chew things well. But nuts are one of the best plant sources of protein. So they're good for you, and they're high in antioxidants, especially walnuts and almonds. If you're worried about the salt, try to get the reduced salt nuts too, and you can even get unsalted. Try a new vegetable or fruit. So if you're not really big on vegetables, sometimes people accept them more when they roast vegetables. So cutting up a variety, like say broccoli, cauliflower, even Brussels sprouts, and then just drizzle a little olive oil, toss it together, and put it on a sheet pan with I always put parchment paper down so it's an easier cleanup, and then roast them at about 400 degrees, and they caramelize, and they just take on a better flavor than just steaming them, because you get that intense kind of sulfuric smell, when you are cooking cruciferous vegetables. And you might try some new ones. Try a new recipe. So we have a lot of recipes on our website here, so you can try those, plus what we're doing today. Try a new plant-based protein, which would be the beans, or even a lentil soup, and then choose a new whole grain. So I like farro or wheat berries, and you don't have to go crazy. Even like a rice pilaf, like a wild rice or brown rice is a good substitute from the white rice variety. You're just going to put more fiber in your diet, which helps with digestion, and you get some good B vitamins that way. All right, so back to beans. Beans are packed with nutrients our bodies need: protein, soluble fiber, which is the one that helps lower cholesterol, iron, and antioxidants. And antioxidants we get from eating a variety of fresh fruit and vegetables. They help to reduce the risk of inflammation in our body. And then beans, like we said, can help lower your bad cholesterol. So that's another good reason to use them. So how to start incorporating beans? So say you made a pot of these beans like we did in this crock pot here. You can add some black beans to salads. That's a start. You can make like a bowl, in bowls, like you could do like a little brown rice, black beans, some avocado, maybe some chopped up red cabbage, some lettuce, some corn, some tomatoes, maybe top it with a little bit of shredded cheese. And it's very satisfying. You can add any bean to a vegetable or chicken noodle soup. So I love to make soup, and it's so simple. I just take the big stock pot, I put a little bit of olive oil, and then I chop up things like, say, sweet potato. You can put that in a soup. You can throw some black beans, but first you're going to put your vegetables in. So maybe sweet potato, zucchini, some onion, if you wanted broccoli, kind of go through your refrigerator and pull out vegetables you want to use that might complement each other. And then you put the lid on and low heat, and you're going to see that moisture forming on the lid. That means you're sweating the vegetables. You're getting them cooked so they're fork tender. And then once that point is, you can add some low sodium chicken broth or vegetable broth or stock. And then from there, you can add like something like a little orzo, like a little tiny pasta, or if you have any leftover meat that you want to chop up and throw in, you can do that too. And so that's how you do your soup. And then to season it, my seasoning would be garlic and onion when you're first sauteing it, some black pepper, and then, depending on what it is, maybe there's some herbs you might want to add, like a little rosemary or thyme would be good. And then you can make a bean soup. You can make a black bean taco. So we're going to make today, I had it sauteed. It's sweet potato, corn, red onion. We're going to add some black beans, and we're going to fill the tacos with that. So it's a meatless taco. And you can also make a dip with beans. And I believe you have one of those recipes in the chat. It's using cannellini beans that you first saute and all, and then you blenderize it. And it's a warm bean dip, but it's very much like a hummus. And you can eat it with raw vegetables or even get that naan bread. You can get whole grain naan bread. It's like a flat bread, and you can warm it in the oven and then cut it into strips and then put a little that bean dip on there, and it's really good. It has rosemary in it too. It's really yummy. You can make a 3-bean chili. So you can make a meatless chili, but throw kidney beans, pinto beans, maybe some black beans into it, and plus, your other vegetables that you like to use. Especially with the cold weather, chili sounds good. And you can make a salsa with beans. You know, here we're doing like black beans, some regular salsa, lime, cumin, and cilantro. So there's lots of opportunities to do that. So then bowls, you know, like a bowl where we were just talking about, it's a great way to provide a lot of nutrition packed into one bowl. So you use your superfoods, which are like your fruits and vegetables. They're high in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients to provide a healthy choice for meals. But they're versatile. So we have taken like a pork tenderloin and put it in the crock pot and just maybe put some onion in there and just slow cook it all day where it ends up shredding. And then you can take some of that and put it into like a bed of lettuce with the pork. Maybe some beans would go good in there, some cut up red cabbage, some tomato, maybe some red onion, whatever you like, and even a little bit of cheese. And you can even make a real simple dressing to go on it, which would be something like this. It's just some olive oil with red wine vinegar and some Dijon mustard, and just simple little, and drizzle a little of that on. And it's really good. And it doesn't really take much time because you have that pork. Usually meat is the thing that slows you down with a meal. Like, I gotta cook it now. But if you had it slow cooking all day, and then you can make tacos with that pork tenderloin and whatever else, some soup. So yeah, try to get multiple uses when you cook a roast like that for some other meals. The way to use up some leftovers. So you can come up with your own mixtures and experiment with different flavors and colorful foods. So yeah, like nature is just so beautiful. Like here we have a yellow pepper, a red pepper. There's an orange one we used. We're going to make stuffed peppers with. But all these colors, when you eat for color, by including a variety like your even white, purples, yellow, red, all these contribute something, some form of nutrient that work together. And we're not big on promoting multiple vitamins to take, especially during treatment. We don't want you taking those because it can decrease the effectiveness of your treatment. But even when you move on, if you're eating a good diet and including a lot of vegetables and fruit, you're going to meet your nutritional needs. American Cancer Society says try not to rely on supplements. Now, everybody's individual, so you may have your own thing going on where your doctor said, I want you to take this each day. And that's fine. That's who, you know, trumps it. He's the one who, or he or she, you follow their advice. But you don't have to just take things randomly because you can get it through your diet. Okay, so we were talking about roasting vegetables. That's mostly what I do because I don't know, it's just easy. And then you can go, like when I get home from work, I'll cut up vegetables, put a little olive oil, put them on a sheet pan, put them in the oven, run upstairs to change, you know, and then proceed with dinner. And so it doesn't really take long, and they're just really good for you. And the cruciferous vegetables, which we talked about, have anti-inflammatory properties. They help lower inflammation in our body. And things like the broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, red cabbage. You know, next month is March, where we'll have St. Patrick's Day, and I love just steaming some cabbage, and I just can eat half the cabbage, you know, it's so good for you. But yeah, so again, everything in moderation too. Like that's probably not a good example of eating a half a cabbage, but try to eat in moderation, not too much of one thing at one time. Kind of variety, so is good. All right, so here's some examples of how you can start with making a bowl. Vegetables to choose from, like the arugula, the dark green leafy vegetables are good. That can be your base. So the darker the color, the more nutrition in it. And then like asparagus, I've seen that in the store now. You can roast beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, your cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, you know, kale. If you're not a big fan of kale, switch it up. Have spinach instead. It's totally fine. Sweet potatoes are good for you too. Even a potato is considered a vegetable, so you can include it. And then your protein. So you've got your base of your bowl with your vegetables. Then you're going to add protein. So tonight we're encouraging beans. You know, you can choose from any of those beans. But then also like fish, like tuna, shrimp, crab, lean poultry. And then you can even top it with some nuts or seeds to give a little crunch. An egg, a hard-boiled egg gives some protein. I know they tell you here like eggs are so expensive now, and they are. They've really gone up in price, but they're still considered an economical source of protein. There's so many things you can do with it. You can make like a frittata, like for dinner. Just beat up some eggs, pour it into a pan, add vegetables like chopped up broccoli or some tomatoes or zucchini, little onion, and then just you can bake it then actually, maybe top it with a little cheese, and then just kind of slice it up like in wedges. And that's really good. But you're getting some good protein that way. And then you can add some grain to your bowl too. First step might be brown rice. Instead of white rice, do brown rice. But then there's other types of grains that you can experiment with. Like patient the other day was telling me that she made beef barley soup, and it just sounded so good. But she had some beef, and she did a main dinner with it, and then used the leftover beef barley soup, then a bowl. So here's all the list of grains, and then you can switch over. Flavorings and crunch would be even herbs and spices. So in some of these recipes, we're just gonna chop up the cilantro and parsley together and throw it in, getting some herbs that have antioxidants in them. And then avocado is a healthy fat. It's nice and creamy, and that adds some, good flavor. And then the dressing I showed you with the olive oil and the vinegar, and then the nuts and seeds, and even some dried fruit, like some dried cherries, is nice on a bowl because it's got that chewy, kind of a little bit of sweetness to it. That's really good. And then this is just, I think this is in a handout in your chat. It's just giving you an idea of how to use fresh herbs. Right now, they're a little expensive because it's winter time. Like cilantro and parsley is pretty much always out there, but sometimes those little packages like rosemary, dill can get a little pricey. So this time of year is a nice time to think, maybe I'd like to start my own little herb garden. We do that. My husband does that. Where we live, and just simple, we can just go out and snip some herbs, and we're not paying the big prices. Basil's a nice one. So it's a time to think of some herbs that you commonly use, and then think about, you could start them right now in little pots, or wait till they have them at the stores where they have a little plant, and then you can put them in pots and put them outside and watch them grow and water them and all. But I think for me, I think like rosemary, I use that often. Basil, oregano, dill is nice, even good on salmon. But yeah, it's something to pursue if you'd like. They even have those hydroponic herb gardens, which one of my kids has one where it grows like water. Like you put the pods in and there's water below, and there's a growing lamp over it. I'm not really much of a gardener, so I can't go too detailed. But he was having great luck with herbs growing in something like that, hydroponic. So really anything goes. Focus on getting more vegetables in your diet. American Cancer Society is recommending like 5 to 7 servings. And a serving is like a half a cup cooked vegetable and about a cup raw. And it sounds like a ton of vegetables, but if you try to incorporate throughout the day, and we're talking vegetables and fruit. So breakfast could be like yogurt or oatmeal and put some berries on it. Mid-morning, whatever else, yogurt or cottage cheese. Like there's opportunities, throughout the day to get those extra vegetables. And always when you have a salad, that incorporates a lot. But also I love making a stir fry. I do that before I go to the grocery store. I kind of see what vegetables are left and then cut them up. And if I have chicken on hand, I'll just do a little stir fry just to use them, and they're really good. So when you plan your meals, you want to focus on vegetables, your protein source, whether it's beans or a meat source, meaning poultry, fish, red meat, whole grains, and flavorings. Red meat for certain cancers, usually like rectal or colon cancer, you want to limit your red meat to maybe 3 times a month. But breast cancer is a little different. It can be twice a week even. So there's not really a rhyme or rule. It's just in general, try to include more poultry, fish, and some meatless meals, which you would do with the beans. Also, just the whole cost of red meat right now, it's really expensive. So that there just makes you want to cut down. And try that where you use less and add maybe some beans to the dish to make it, increase the volume is a good thing. Takes practice, to remind yourselves to do that. Okay, so then no time to cook. Try some bowls because they don't take long to make. You're just throwing things together. You want to cut down on salt, and you also want to avoid added sugar. So you can get the sweetness in your diet from fruit, but we don't want you to be so obsessed with what you're eating where it becomes non-enjoyable. We want you to enjoy your meals. If you had a cookie once in a while, it's no big deal. But if you were replacing a meal with just sweets for a meal, that would be no good. So you do want to decrease. And like when you think of like a beverage, like I might have like a sparkling water or a glass of water with my meal instead of like a sweet soft drink. So that would be a change right there. And then like if I had oatmeal, and maybe I was used to putting sugar in it, I wouldn't do that anymore. I would maybe put a few, so the berries in there would be really good or whatever you like to do. But looking for those little things that add up by cutting down on sugary stuff. All right, so a little bit about black beans. They can be stored indefinitely when they're in this dried form here. But after 2 years, they can tend to lose moisture. And then many beans, including black beans, if you consume them raw, can cause poisoning. So that's weird. Like, don't let your pets get them if you drop them. I don't think they'd want to eat them, but you never know. But yeah, beans just in this form can cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, but you have to cook them and that takes any toxins out. So it's not something to worry about because I don't think we would eat this anyhow raw, but it was just an interesting fact. And then when cooked, black beans have a creamy texture with a strong, slightly sweet flavor. And to avoid bloating and gas, you can soak them overnight, which can help. Yeah, and they're easy to cook and they're very versatile and they just a very bland type flavor. So they're rich in protein, fiber, and several vitamins and minerals. Great source of thiamine, folate, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, and manganese, as well as potassium and copper. So 1/2 cup of cooked black beans has 114 calories and 8 grams of protein. So when I cook these black beans, I didn't add any fat or oil. It was just water, onion, garlic, and the beans, and the quart of water. So there's no fat added. So another thing, like how to cook dried beans. I didn't really do this, but well, I kind of looked, but I opened the package and I looked at it. Sometimes they can have a little, depending where they come from, there could be like a little stone or foreign matter. So you do want to examine that. And if you see like little pinholes, it could be a bug infestation. But like, where are these from? Let me just check. They are from California, I think. Yeah. So I don't know. There was no problem. They all looked very uniform. I didn't see anything like a foreign matter in them. You can soak beans overnight. So I've done that. I took a bowl with a colander and nested it and put the beans in there and filled it with water and I let it go overnight. I didn't do it this time, but in the past I've tried that. And then you can just lift out the colander and it drains and then you can cook your beans. But I feel like in this crock pot, it's gone for like 6 to 7 hours. It just worked fine. Yeah, and then you just drain and rinse them and then cook them either in a large pot on the stove for at least for about 45 minutes to 2 hours, put on low heat, or do the crock pot. Crock pot's easy. So here it is with the slow cooker. Makes them creamy and flavorful. They're inexpensive, versatile, and very good for you. And then you can add, like I just have garlic and onion in here. But anyhow, and then you can use them for like bean tostados, tacos, stuffed peppers, which we're going to show you. All right, so next month is Nutrition Month. It happens every year. And the theme is going to be cool beans. So we're right in there with what's happening out there.